Welcome to the Fat Guys with Smokers podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm John. We're a couple of overweight barbecue enthusiasts trying to share our love for sweet and smoky food with the world.
Thanks for hanging out with us as we talk about life, share recipes, successes, and failures that have all led to our love of cooking outdoors. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Fat Guys with Smokers. I'm Mike, here with John. What's up, John?
You know, we do this every weekend, and every weekend I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to say. So, we're here.
We made it.
We're here.
We did it.
We've got our drinks. We had our lumberjack bowls.
We did. Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, Mavericks burrito game's been a little weak lately, I feel like.
Yeah.
But we tried the lumberjack bowls out of desperation this morning. Not bad.
Yeah. It wasn't too bad at all.
So if you're looking for a, heart attack or a way to increase your cholesterol on a Saturday morning.
Find that on Apple Music.
Sorry. It's my first time using an iPad, so, It was good, but it can't be healthy. It definitely can't be healthy.
No, but I also feel like our viewership and listeners would appreciate that.
Yeah.
You don't listen to a podcast called Fat Guys with Smokers looking for the latest.
Looking for health tips.
Yeah. So you're
Well
welcome.
said.
You're welcome, America.
Well said.
And France and Belgium,
Yes.
India.
Dude,
We had in Indonesia at one point.
it's happening.
Even if I do know that the one from France is just one of our buddies who's on vacation over there right now.
Hey.
As was India.
We have crossed over into France airspace, and that's what's important.
Right.
French airspace.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, interesting times in France right now. Since we're not allowed to talk about the weather anymore, let's talk about geopolitics.
Let's do it. Go on.
Have you listened or been paying attention to what's going on?
No.
So in France, they have a national retirement pension program
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
that they're talking about changing the retirement age, increasing it. And
Oh, yeah.
people are rioting in the streets.
Yeah, people are not okay with it.
No, I mean, I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
people at my job are upset when we add responsibilities to their job or, do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine thinking you were going to retire at, I don't even know what the age is, let's say 65.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it'd be like, nope, we need 5 more years out of you.
Yeah. That would be brutal.
I would be pissed.
Yeah. Especially if you were close, the end was in sight.
Yeah.
And then it's just kidding. That'd be hard.
So
Huh.
now that we've got politics taken care of,
Yep.
I mean, we can talk about the Wall Street Journal reporter that's being held in Russia. Have you heard about this one?
I've heard about this.
Yeah. So, no weather talk this morning.
Yep. We did it, Haley. You're welcome.
Just for you, babe.
John, how'd Easter go?
I promise we will never do that again. Easter was good, mostly because part of it was deep fried. So
Yeah, tell us about your eggs. Were they as good as they looked?
I loved everything about deep fried deviled eggs. And there's a little reel on Instagram. Go check that out. But I love them for a couple of reasons. One, deep fried and crunchy, you can't go wrong. It's just delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of deviled eggs over hard-boiled eggs because I hate that film that gets in your mouth when you're eating a hard-boiled egg.
Yeah.
From the
you talked
yolk,
about
it's
that.
just no amount of Mountain Dew or anything else is gonna get that out of your mouth.
Let the record show that you've got to check out the YouTube video for what just happened across from me, because it was intense.
Think of a dog with peanut butter on the roof of his mouth, and I did a great demonstration of that.
It moved me. So well done.
But so they were really delicious, but even better than that, I used a dozen of the 3 dozen eggs that my kids colored
Oh, nice.
the night before. So the number of hard-boiled eggs that sit in my fridge for I don't know how long was significantly reduced.
Yeah,
So,
see, I've still got 3 dozen. Maybe I should have done that.
yeah. But everybody loved them.
Yeah.
So highly recommend it. Mr. Pittman, thank you for a great recipe, great inspiration. It was awesome.
Mr. Pittman commented on said reel, John.
He did.
And we talked about this. He could have defamed you and your whole family, and you still would have been giddy.
Oh, I was like fangirling in my office.
I get a text with many exclamation points and emojis, which normally you don't get from John. Like, it happened! With a screenshot of, and it's very nice. And maybe it was just an intern or whatever, but
I don't care.
Just said, this makes me happy. And tell you what, Mr. Pittman, you made John happy.
That's true. I called my wife. I was pretty excited. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And good of him to, that's way cool. That somebody his size would look at what we're doing and being like, oh.
Yeah,
let me go ahead and comment on that.
Our sub 300 followers, which continues to grow.
Yeah.
Much to the thanks of Damon. You went on another run again this
Did he
week.
Really? Oh, God.
Yeah. The algorithms of Instagram, I will never understand.
Yeah, I don't get them at all.
Yeah.
Because it comes in waves with all of our stuff, I feel like. Suddenly you get a bunch of likes on old stuff. Anyway, whatever.
Nope. Yeah, but no, Easter was great. The ham was pretty good. Man, I struggle with ham. Like, all you're doing is warming it up.
Right.
It always takes longer than I think it should.
Really? To warm it?
Mm-hmm. Like, I planned, I think 4 or 5 hours to get this ham up to, 145.
Mm-hmm. And,
I was 30 minutes late to dinner and cranking the temperature for the last hour trying to get it to move and get up there.
So let me ask you this. Do you find that the outside dries out a little bit when you have to let it cook for that long?
I didn't feel like it did. One, ham just has a lot of good fat content that helps naturally baste it and keep it moist. But the other thing is, I glaze it up pretty good. So if it is dry, that helps moisturize it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it also kind of gets a real nice candied caramely raspberry on the outside of it.
Yeah.
So.
Do you baste it before you start cooking it, or do you let it warm up a little and then? Because I thought you just basted at the end, but I guess if you're basting.
So this time, I scored it. So it's a spiral cut ham.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, like a mountain going up, it's already got the trails going around it, carved.
Oh, that's an interesting vision right there. I like it.
Well, there you go, Mike. I've got all sorts of interesting analogies.
Had I known you were such a mountaineer.
Yeah, because this likes to hike. There's a reason there's a side-by-side in my shed. I went and cut down.
Okay. Deeply or just?
Half inch, 3/4 of an inch. Not all the way to the bone, but I cut into it.
Uh-huh.
Just trying to give it more surface area, right?
Interesting.
So I did that. I used honey mustard because I had it out from when I was making the deviled eggs. I was like, we're using honey hog rub. Let's make this a little sweeter. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Use that as a binder, hit it with honey hog, and then it went out onto the smoker and was there in probably about 45 minutes to the end. I started hitting it with the glaze.
Interesting.
Yeah, did a raspberry bourbon glaze again that I did before. I doctored it up a little bit more this time. I had some pineapple juice and I put something else in there. I don't remember what. This is the problem of that honey mustard sitting on the counter and being like, this could be fun.
I'm just like, oh yeah, we'll try this. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's really good, and it's like, what did I do again?
Yeah.
What did I do? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Gotta move my headset here. I got an itch on my ear.
Nice. Let the record show. Go to YouTube and watch John itch his ear.
Oh my gosh. Don't go to YouTube.
Let's talk about how crappy that is.
So YouTube, man, we've got like 20 subscribers on YouTube. Love to have more. Like, you don't have to actually watch it. Just go like, subscribe. It helps us.
In fact, we would feel better if you didn't watch the whole thing.
No, this as we start, and we talked about this at the very beginning when we started the podcast. Like, it was kind of weird and awkward to like be sitting around having a conversation, or at least we thought it was going to be.
Right. Uh-huh.
And then it ended up being pretty normal.
Chill.
Like, we're just hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday night, our episodes drop on Thursday. In case if anyone knows, the audio hits podcast channels 7:45 Thursday mornings, almost like clockwork. I don't think we've missed one of those yet.
Okay.
YouTube, we try and drop it about the same time. Sometimes the upload just takes a little longer when I do it Wednesday night. So sometime Thursday, we typically have the YouTube. So Thursday night, my boys were like, "Dad, can we watch the episode?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And we turned it on during dinner and was kind of playing in the background. I edit the video, like I put it together every week. I do not watch the video. I match the audio and I put the intro and the extra on it, and that's all the editing we do. Like, we've talked about this. We don't want this to be oh, Mike, you said that wrong. Let's do this again.
Re-roll it. Yeah.
There are no second takes. You get what you get. My super awkward start this morning that I was almost like, Mike, can we do this again?
Yeah.
Like, no, you get it all. You get us. That's just how we roll.
Yep.
So I don't watch the episodes. I make sure it's framed, and then I move on.
See, and I will have them. I was telling John, when I'm like grading papers or whatever, I'll put it on YouTube and just have an earbud in while I'm listening. But I don't really look very much. But man, it's hard to watch yourself on video.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I sat there with my kids and, we were kind of watching it and talking about stuff, and the way, like, I stop and think and I, like, look up and I'm, like, looking around, it was fine when it was audio. Now it's on YouTube. I was leaning back for part of the episode last time, and it was just like, bloop, like truly embodying the fat guy. Like, sure. My posture is getting better. We got these cool new stools.
Yeah, we did.
And I sat there and I spun like side to side, like
while you're thinking.
Yeah. Haley was getting her hair cut yesterday. So Clay came in and hung out at my office with me for, I don't know, he was there for maybe an hour. And man, I was like, yep, I get it, man. He's like sitting in one of the chairs at the conference table in my office, and he's just like spinning in circles. And I was like, I'd give you crap, but I just watched my YouTube, and I know exactly what I look like.
Well, it's interesting, the I don't know if you'd even call it a nervous tick, but just like when you're thinking and you're not really paying attention to what you're doing, some of the things that you do, like just like spinning in the chair, or like, I don't know. Like, I can't, I talked about this before, but I always look pissed. Like, I've always just, my resting face is just like,
That's why you're a great high school teacher.
Yeah, it's true. It works out okay. I looked meaner when I had the full beard, but anyway, yeah. And I don't notice what my face is doing, and sometimes I don't know. I don't even know, but it's hard to watch. Difficult to watch.
No. So if you want a great opportunity to make fun of Mike and I, we would welcome more subscribers on YouTube. Just make sure you comment. Drive engagement.
Yes.
Because we do want to grow this. It's we talk about it off and on, but This is something Mike and I really enjoy doing. So
Yeah.
help give us a reason and encouragement to keep it going.
Yeah. We're just saying today, like, we've kind of proven to ourselves that this isn't just going to be another one of those, like, flash in a pan. Like, we're pretty into it.
Flash in a pan is such a better phrase than what I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
Not on the air, Mike.
Whoa.
Let's
This is a clean podcast,
let's
John,
let people
right?
think that I'm still a good
I
person.
need you to calm down.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Instead of making fun of ourselves, shout-outs this week.
I thought you were going to say, let's make fun of somebody else.
I know. I almost did, and I was like, that's not what's about to happen.
Well, and we picked the other account instead of the...
That's
We were mostly just enjoying that other people feel the same way sometimes on camera that we do.
Watching some TikToks of different creators, like, you can tell that it at least seems like in their mind, they're just like, what am I doing here?
You know what? The freaking props to them for keeping it going.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's so easy. And it's like... The camera up right now doesn't really bother me. Like, we're still having a conversation. We already had that muscle down.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably got 3 or 4 different, like, reels or how-to videos that I've done in the last month or two.
Mm-hmm.
Halfway done that I just, like, can't bring myself to put out there.
Yes.
Because I feel so awkward and uncomfortable. So props to those creators who keep it going even when they're just like...
Yeah. And I kind of dig
you should
the reels
go look at YouTube for that
you can
face.
just play music and you don't have to be like, hey guys, welcome to Fat Guys with Smokers. But I don't know. Whatever. Some people look really comfortable doing it. I am not one of those people.
Yeah. Someday.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out though. This week goes to Jordan Hanger, the man behind Ninja Q.
Ninja Q.
Yeah. One, he does awesome video work. His videos look so clean and so professional. Love the work that he does there. But the other thing that I really like about Ninja Q is he does a lot of outdoor cooking on a bunch of different types of cookers.
Yeah.
But he also, I think the one that's pinned at the top of his Instagram feed is an air fryer recipe. So doing more than just outside, it's a great variety of content on his stuff. And he cooks a bunch of different stuff too that he's got some great ideas on how to elevate the simple things.
Yeah. Just add a little bit to it to make it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it always looks so good. His presentation, you talked about his video, but his plating is, and I only know that term because I watch a lot of Chopped. But I mean, it looks very clean and beautiful. Just pops off the plate. So a lot of cool stuff on there.
Yeah. So keep it up, Jordan. Love your content. Keep going, man.
Thank you, my good man. All right. So this week we got a few episode ideas, and this week we wanted to kind of talk about getting started, right? I mean, we've talked about an equipment list and stuff, but you were saying this week that there were a couple people that kind of inspired this idea.
Yeah, and had a couple of conversations at the office. Just out of the blue. I mean, everybody knows I'm into barbecue. I mean, I've got Fat Guys with Smoker stickers, Hayden barbecue stickers on my truck. Mm-hmm. My license plate is BBQ,
which is awesome, by the way.
It's so cool. It makes me happy every time I see it. Yeah, they say money can't buy happiness, but it can buy me a license plate.
Yeah,
and it's pretty dope. Yeah. So it's not uncommon to hey, what are you cooking? What are you doing? But I love it when someone comes up and is like, hey, I just got my first smoker. What do I do? I'm trying to figure out what to cook, or especially when they've had a couple of cooks and they're like, it just doesn't seem awesome. What am I doing wrong?
Interesting.
I love that conversation. I could have that conversation all day long.
See, that conversation makes me a little bit nervous because I like what I like, and I would be worried to give them bad information, which is stupid because I don't know.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things I always tell people to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And like I caveat with like, look, this is what I would tell you. Start this way. Get it so that the meat is fall apart tender the way you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then play around with flavors. Like you can change the flavor to be whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can figure out how to cook it, that's like 80% of the battle.
Right.
So, and I think there's a couple of like things you can start with.
Mm-hmm.
For me, well, I'm curious, how would you answer the question?
Of what am I doing wrong, or
No,
like what do I get started?
How do you get started? Someone says, I just bought my smoker. What's the first thing I should cook?
Well, here's what I would say. First of all, this is some of the best advice I ever got from, and I think I got it on a YouTube channel somewhere. I think it was Chud's Barbecue I was watching. But he said, okay, first of all, calm down. Because people have been cooking over like campfires for years. So don't overthink it. Like it's going to be okay. And especially with a Traeger, like it's I don't want to say it's hard to screw up, but it's pretty easy and user friendly. So just calm down and don't get so caught up in reading all the forums and freaking out about temperatures and everything. Like I would say that's some of the best advice that I've ever seen is this used to be done in a like pit in the ground over coals. So just calm down. It's not, I don't want to say it's not hard, but you're going to be okay. And then I would say start with pork. I think you said learn to really like pork because pork I feel like is the most forgiving. It's got a lot of fat. Which means it will render for a long time. It's easy to, I mean, you can overcook it a little bit and it will just get more tender. That's probably where I would start at least.
Yeah. And for the low and slow, pork's where I send people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
For all the reasons you said, plus it's cheap.
Yeah. Yes.
Like it's dirt cheap and like worst case, like worst thing that happens, you throw a $12 pork shoulder away.
Mm-hmm. And order a pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, a $12 pork shoulder, you feel a whole lot less bad throwing that away than an $80 brisket.
Yeah. I was going to say all that stuff I just said about calm down, it's going to be okay. That's not if you're like trying to cook a Wagyu brisket or something that you've spent hundreds of dollars on. Then you can freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I remember, and I had cooked a bunch of briskets. Like I was not crazy confident in my brisket like I am now. Like I have very little hesitation or concern about cooking a brisket today.
Mm-hmm.
But it was probably like my 5th or 6th brisket, and I thought I knew what I was doing. And like it just went haywire.
Yeah.
And I threw an $80 piece of meat in the garbage. Like there was no salvaging it. There was no burnt ends to be had.
Oh.
I went out 6 hours after I put it on, like where I would normally like start checking it to wrap.
Mm-hmm. And
it was hard as a rock.
Really?
I still to this day, I don't know what I did wrong.
Huh.
So start small, start simple, and learn to love to eat pulled pork because you're just probably going to eat a lot of it.
Yep.
Especially if you're going to like do a lot of barbecuing and you want to get good at all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn a lot about barbecue with pork shoulders.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and like the basic mechanics of everything, like what to expect, when you should wrap, if you should wrap.
Yeah,
all that stuff can be learned on a pork shoulder.
There's a fantastic article, and I will try to remember to put this in the show notes. Put a link to this. There's a fantastic article on AmazingRibs.com.
Yeah, you talked about this like day one.
Yeah, this article changed the way that I thought about barbecue. And like everyone gets to the stall, and I think that's the hardest part for folks that are just getting into this.
Yes.
They get to the stall and they hate it. It's frustrating because you don't know why it's not moving. You think it should be. You think it should be over after a couple of hours, and maybe it's going to go for 4 or 5 hours. Mm-hmm. But the stall is your friend in barbecue. That's when the magic happens. And this article talks about like the science and like what's happening in the stall.
Mm-hmm. And for anybody that is a beginner, what's the stall, John?
The stall is an amazing and incredibly frustrating thing that happens. Mm-hmm. Pause.
Nothing to panic about. Like, I got a lot of panic texts from friends the first time they were going through it. Like, do I need to crank it up? Like, what should I do? It hasn't moved in 2 hours, you know?
Yeah, I have this conversation with all of my buddies. Like, when they buy their first smoker, I send them the article. They inevitably only skim through it because it's long. Mm-hmm. But the stall... This is the other frustrating part and a great thing to learn on pork shoulders. It happens anywhere from like 150, 155 up to 170.
Yeah.
But as the meat starts to cook, it hits the stall, hits this temperature, and it sits. And if you're...
Yeah, it doesn't change at all.
I wish I had a marker closer and I'd draw it here on the board.
Oh, yeah, because we got a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Is there one over there?
There is. It's on the back corner of the...
I got you.
Watch your headset.
Nope. I'm keeping it on.
That would be fun to watch as the audio interface goes flying across the room.
What color do you want?
I don't care. Whichever one's close. Something dark that'll show up on the video, maybe. All the colors of the rainbow. And I'm going to go black. The first and probably only time we're ever going to use the whiteboard on here. I don't know if I hope like some closet fans have seen what's on the whiteboard behind us all these times.
It is pretty awesome.
You get the reference, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Big Bang Theory.
I was going to say, nope, don't tell them. Let's see who can comment. Still comment and tell us if you know what if the reference is from.
Yeah.
But so as you look at the progression of your cook, we've got temp over here and time across the bottom.
Mm-hmm. This would be a line graph for any of my students that are listening. It's a very good data display if you're showing change in something over time.
You have a fairly decent linear progression.
Uh-huh.
And then you hit the spot. And this is the stall. It's right here.
And it's crazy because when you're in this, it's kind of nice that we have a visual. If you're not watching on YouTube, this is probably going to be a lot of boring pauses while we point at the wall. But this is what you're expecting, like the whole time. So, I mean, the first time I cooked one, even though I knew what the stall was and knew to kind of expect it, like I adjusted my time frame like, oh my gosh, like this is going way faster than I thought. And then you get here. Yeah. And that's our stall.
And you sit here and this period of time, like I'll even draw the little zigzag because like it changes and you never know what it's going to do.
Yep.
And then finally it breaks out of the stall and goes back up.
What's the longest you think you've had something in the stall?
I did the first year that we did the camp out for church. Mm-hmm. I did 20 pork shoulders. And I wanted them real smoky. So I did them at 180. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how long it was in the stall, but one of the shoulders cooked for 26 hours.
That's crazy.
So,
Holy
I mean,
cow.
it was probably in the stall for 15 hours.
I was going to say at least half of that time, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Wild. And each one kind of reacts differently, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's all about the fat content in the meat. Both the like extra fat and the intermuscular fat, the airflow around it. We talked a little bit about this last week, that when you've got a smoker crammed full of meat, it cooks differently than when I have one pork shoulder in my great big smoker.
right.
So all of those things play into it. I mean, I wish I had great pictures from that cook. This was like, and it's funny how fast technology has changed. Because I had a smartphone, but like it was a super crappy camera on it at the time. But I had 4 or 5 smokers that I had borrowed from a bunch of people in my backyard.
They're just all going up.
The whole backyard had filled with like that white cloud of smoke. It was like running around in a fog machine, but
That's awesome.
It was smoke. It was happy.
That's sweet.
But yeah, so you sit in the stall, and while you're there, the good things that are happening are like the fats, the sinews, all of the connective tissues are turning into just like butter. Like they're getting super soft. They're letting go of all the connections that they have, so that when you get done, you pick that pork shoulder up and literally just squeeze your hand and the whole thing falls apart.
I mean, it's like as you pick it up off your grill, you can feel like it's gonna fall apart.
Yeah, it's got the jiggle.
It folds.
It folds. So this is that's the stall. And this, like I said, this progression, like I would say on average, it's anywhere from 4 to 5 hours, but can certainly carry on in the 6, 8, 10,
and
depending
this
on the
is
temperature.
so. This is pork shoulder, brisket, but like chicken, you're not gonna have a stall, right? Or if you do, it's so short that you probably don't even notice it.
Yeah. So, and we'll talk about it. I want to make sure we get back to the new start cook.
Gotcha.
But, and maybe chicken is a good one. We talked
I like chicken. I feel like chicken is even cheaper than pork in a lot.
Yes, and chicken's another one. Traeger actually, like if you go to like one of their road shows at Costco or something, like the first thing they tell you to buy is like go buy a whole chicken. They give you a bottle of rub, and they call it the Traeger Chicken Challenge. Turn the grill up to 450. You put the chicken out there. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, and it is like some of the best chicken you'll ever eat in your life.
It's so good. The only thing with chicken is there's not as much fat on it, so you gotta watch
and
it a little bit.
That's part of the reason why that's so much shorter.
Right.
It's also pork. We're normally cooking at somewhere between 180 and 250. That chicken you do at 450.
Yeah, it's more of a hot and fast type of deal.
Tri-tip is the other one that I was like, if you really want to kind of like make it fancy and like feel like you're doing something other than just boring pulled pork, I like tri-tip.
I love tri-tip.
And you're right, the different color here, on the hot and fast cooks, and even tri-tip, like I'm normally 250, 275, so it's a little bit lower, but the fat content is so much lower in those lean cuts of meat that it goes up. And I feel like there's still a little bit of a stall.
Yeah, a little bit, but you really don't notice it as much.
I mean, it's like from there to there.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't spend time there.
Yeah. I would recommend tri-tip to people that are just starting out because it is so good. And there's a couple ways you can do it. Like there's the brisket style or the hot and fast. Both are really good. I feel like cooking a few tri-tips kind of got me ready for the brisket.
The brisket style, you get more of the bottom
a lot
curve.
More like that. But yeah, brisket or tri-tip's really good. Cheaper than a brisket. Delicious. So still not, I mean, it's not as cheap as chicken or a pork shoulder.
No, but it's 3 or 4 pounds, and at $8 a pound, like it's $30. And I mean,
it'll feed people.
It will.
Yeah. All right.
So I guess the other couple of things that I always talk about the stall.
Mm-hmm.
Give them this article to read because you're right. It freaks people out and it terrifies them.
Yeah.
And there are things you can do to beat the stall. If you're really in a bind, like we've talked about this, wrapping it, they call it a Texas crutch.
Mm-hmm.
By wrapping it, you increase the humidity and the moisture around it and get it hot. So you can cut that in half.
Mm-hmm.
And get done sooner.
Yeah.
But again, you're spending less time breaking down the
so your end product isn't quite as fall apart. I mean, it's still edible. I mean, it's not gross or anything, but
yeah,
you definitely get a higher quality.
The Texas crutch. If you've got to go fast, wrapping it's the way to do it because you're forcing the moisture that's coming out of the meat back into it by keeping it wrapped up together.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps keep it tender and fall apart at the end.
Mm-hmm.
If you just crank the heat, you're going to end up with a piece of leather.
Yeah. I saw the funniest TikTok the other day, and I was going to send it to you, and I forgot. But it was some guy that pulled a brisket off, and it looked black, like charred. And I was like, oh, that's kind of gross. And he went to cut it. You'll watch these videos. People will cut into the brisket, and it's beautiful and juicy. And it was like that thin and just gray. I don't know if he forgot about it or what, but it was hilarious because he was just like, look at those juices. It was so funny. It's like, follow me for more recipes. Anyway.
Oh, that's funny.
I forgot about that until right now.
Yep, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I know that feeling and all the words that go with it.
So pork shoulder, chicken, stall. What else would you say to somebody?
Patience is like a big thing. Molly talked about this when we were with him, like plan extra time.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the first pork shoulder you're doing, plan 18 hours to cook it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it only takes 14.
Mm-hmm.
But you need some time to rest at the end. So once you hit here and you take it off the heat, give it a chance to relax, let the juices kind of redistribute through the meat.
Well, and I like that because everything reacts so differently that it's hard to get concrete, like, cook it at this temperature for this long. Like, every cut of meat is just different enough that you've got to just plan that extra time and then have something in place to hold it because it might finish early. And you need to be able to, like, keep it for anywhere from, 2 to... For example, on Easter, I cooked 2 pork shoulders, and they were done, like, 6 hours before I needed them to be. So I just put the oven on the lowest setting it would be and put them in there. They rested. It was great. They never fell into the danger zone, and it was great. Yeah. But you need to have something in place and know that these big cuts of meat can rest for a while.
Yeah. I've rested briskets for 6 to 8 hours, and they've been just fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, plan your time. You have to have a thermometer.
Yeah.
Like, having an instant read thermometer is not an option. Like, you have to buy one. You can get them for $10. I think it was a TP09 from ThermPro is the one that I had on our What Gear to Buy episode. Regularly, like, on sale on Amazon for $7.
Yeah.
And it's great. I just bought their new ThermPro 1 this last week, and it's great. It was like $45. And it's really fast and it's really nice. You don't have to have that to be successful.
But you've got to have a thermometer.
You have to have something. 203 is the magic number I tell people to look for. But as you cook, you start to learn that there is a feel of when it's done. It's a lot of people talk about it being like a hot knife going into warm butter. Like, it's just super smooth. It's awesome.
And I feel like at the end of those cooks with a big piece of meat, that's really all you're doing. Like, what's pork good at? Like 165 or something? That everything's
USDA changed it. It's down. I think it's down to 140 now.
That sounds right. And so, I mean, it's food safe. You're just going to break everything down and make it delicious. And so that's kind of what you're going by is feel at that point, I feel like.
Yeah. And then the other thing, like I made a joke about this last week. My first pork shoulder, I spent 90 minutes trimming.
Mm-hmm.
Trimming is important. It's not critical.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it.
Yep.
Like any pork shoulder you bought at Sam's Club, you could put straight onto a smoker and it'll be fine.
Honestly, if I'm just eating it, like when I was doing the competition, like it's a lot more trimming and you try to make it look nice. If I'm just going to shred it, especially, I trim very little. I cut gross looking stuff off. I try to make sure the fat cap's even, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I'm at with pork shoulder. If it's a really thick cap, I take part of it off, or they've started like leaving a second layer of fat on that I just cut off. And then on the bottom side of pork shoulders, there is always a pocket of veins that I cut those out, and that's all I do. Mm-hmm. I trimmed all 8 of the ones I was doing in less than 30 minutes last week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so don't stress out about that.
Yeah. So that's what I tell people. Like, get good at pork. If you want to get fancy and like do something different, tri-tip, the chicken, both great options. They're really easy and they're really hard to screw up as long as you've got a thermometer.
Yeah.
So Mike, you've been smoking pork for, you've done 5 or 6 of them now. You're feeling real confident. How are you going to elevate your game? What's the next thing you're going to try?
It's a loaded question, John. I think at that point, once I'm feeling good about it, that's when I start experimenting with different flavors. I want to try, I don't know. I want to try maybe an Asian-inspired flavor or something like that. Maybe just pairing it with different sides, putting it in different things. I think at that point, that's when you start playing with different binders, playing with different rubs, seeing how you like it. I don't know. But I think that's probably what I'm thinking. Once you've got it down, that's when it becomes fun, because you're less worried about, oh crap, am I gonna get this done, or is it, am I gonna screw this up? At that point, that's when it's fun, and you get to play with, oh, let's see what happens if I do this. When what were you saying was the honey mustard sitting on the counter, like, yeah, let's see what happens with this. You know what I mean? When you're less worried about the cook, then that's when I think it's really fun. That's kind of where the fun comes into it. Not those first couple cooks; those can be a little bit stressful, but that's when you can really elevate those flavors, try different things, stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. I was gonna say trick question, because you're gonna cook more pork.
Yeah,
but you're gonna do different things. Start replacing meat and casseroles with pulled pork. Like, we do chili verde a lot. Like, love doing chili verde with pulled pork. Start trying other things, and then, start saving your pennies and try a brisket. And just know that your first brisket may not be awesome. I had lunch with a friend this week, and we were talking about it. He is the master of ribs. That we should actually see if he'll come on and talk about it. He's taken the Traeger 3-2-1 recipe and made it his own, and like, people beg and plead. He's got a couple of teenage boys that they're like, Dad, we need ribs. We need ribs. We need ribs now. He's like, well, you're not getting them now. It'll be a couple of hours before we get this. But he was making the comment about, someone who's got a really good brisket. Like, good brisket doesn't come overnight. And I mean, I've coached a lot of people through their first briskets, and they're like, oh, it was so good. Like, and maybe they're getting a little bit of experience from me, because I screwed 4 or 5 briskets up real bad before I had one that I was like, oh, this is good. And it's only now after doing brisket for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and I've probably done 30 of them at this point, that I'm like really excited about every one of my briskets, and I can do the drop and they jiggle like crazy. Like if someone's good at brisket, they've been cooking for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it is an art. It is not a science. There's no one solution to every brisket.
Yeah, like a lot of times when you're looking at recipes online or baking or something, it is very exact, like,
oh my gosh,
this temperature for this time.
Like, and not even just volume, like you need 817 grams of flour.
Yeah.
Like, right.
Yeah. I feel like with barbecue, it's just not that way because each thing reacts different. Each cooker reacts different. So nobody can say, you're going to do this for this long. It's just like, go until it's where you like it, you know?
Well, and it's meat. I mean, like no 2 cows are the exact same. Right. I don't know. Maybe identical twins are a thing in cows, but they live their life different ways and eat different things. And like the fat content, the protein, like one of them may run around a whole bunch and, you know, has had more activity on those muscles. So the fibers have been used more than another one. That all of those things change the way that it's going to react on the cooker.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
So, hopefully this has been helpful. Yeah, maybe like just a quick recap, like start with pork, plan a lot of time, relax, Frankie.
Yeah, like, and don't be intimidated to get started. I think that's what holds some people back is if you look online, there's all these guys that are way into it and saying words that you don't know. Just throw it on there and start. Yeah.
DM us. Like, we're happy to answer questions, but it's $15. Like, I wasted $15 at Maverick with my kids last night. Like, you'll blow $15 on just about anything these days. Like, it's okay to screw up, and you're gonna probably learn more than a $15 lesson from screwing up. So go ahead, like, be brave, get out there, give it a try, and then, you know, write down what you didn't learn. You know, I am a terrible journaler.
Yeah, as am I.
But I actually have some pretty good notes on, like, different cooks I've done, and especially big cooks. Like, I make a lot of notes and, like, think through, like, what did I do? What didn't I do? What should I do different next time? Make those notes for yourself as you get started of, you know, when did you put it on? How hot was the grill? You know, what did the piece of meat look like? Because that's all information that'll be helpful for you in the future.
Yeah, agreed.
So if you've been waiting, get out there, get after it. Memorial Day is fast approaching, the official start to barbecue season in most people's eyes.
Yeah.
So deals are going to be coming up on different cookers and grills, and start doing your research now. Figure out what you want to get and get out there and start cooking. It's a ton of fun.
Agreed. It is. Like you said, just start. I think that's the biggest thing. Is just don't be intimidated and just start doing it. If you screw up, you screw up. But now's the time.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's gonna be a good summer. I think.
Dude,
I got some ideas and I'm excited.
I'm super excited. I'm really excited to spend some time with my pit barrel and actually, when we're done, I need to talk to you about the barrel I have outside.
Sweet.
Because I kind of want to make a barrel cooker too.
Do it.
So yeah, get after it. I'm really excited about this. I'm also excited. We're going to talk about flat top grills.
Yeah.
And we're
getting some inside information from people.
We've reached out to a couple of different companies to, like, give us their differentiators, and we'll go through those and talk about them. I can already tell you what I thought I wanted, I think, is changing a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about that.
Me too.
But
we're still waiting to hear from a couple of them.
Blackstone.
Yep.
Hit us up, yo. Really excited for this time of year. It's starting to get nice outside.
Don't talk about the weather, John.
It's at the end of the episode,
isn't it? About the
it's the end of the episode, isn't it? Okay.
She's gonna hurt us.
It's probably true. All right. Well, before we say incriminating things and get in trouble with my wife, I'm John.
I'm Mike.
And this is Fat Guys with Smokers. Thanks for listening to the Fat Guys with Smokers podcast. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe so you don't forget to tune in for even more nonsense from a couple of Fat Guys with Smokers.
Don't forget to subscribe.